Even after saving the world, the silence in the lake house was deafening. Morgan was asleep upstairs, her little Iron Man helmet resting at the foot of her bed. The house still bore faint traces of Tony's laughter, echoes that lived in the walls, in the recorded holograms, and in the hearts of those who'd survived him. Pepper Potts stood at the window, arms crossed, staring at the water. She wondered if Tony ever truly forgave himself. The world saw him as a hero, bold, arrogant, brilliant. But those closest to him knew the battle he fought wasn't just with Thanos. It was with himself. Before the snap. 6 months before the time heist, Tony lay awake in bed, watching Morgan sleep. Her hand clutched the arc reactor keychain he gave her, his attempt at humor, his way of saying, "You've got my heart." But in truth, he feared that his heart wasn't enough. That someday, all he'd ever done would catch up with her. Late at night, when Pepper had drifted to sleep, he would sometimes sneak into the workshop. Not to build, but to Jarvis. To Friday. To holograms of his father. A Peter Parker. Especially Peter. "I should have never let you come," he whispered once to the flickering image of the kid's smile. "You were just a kid. You trusted me." That guilt, the feeling of being a fraud beneath the armor, never left. The weight of legacy. After returning from space, something in Tony broke. Not visibly. Not physically. But in the soul. The spark that once burned behind his sarcasm was now quieter. Dimmer. "I saw it, Pep," he said one evening, clutching her hand. "All of them's gone. And I couldn't do anything." "You tried," she said gently. But trying wasn't enough. He started writing again. Not code, not designs. Letters. To Morgan. To Happy. To Peter's aunt. Even one to Steve. He never sent them. But he needed the words out of his head, because they were starting to drown him. When Scott Lang appeared with the idea of time travel, Tony refused. Not because it couldn't work, but because if it did, everything he had now might vanish. "I finally got it right," he told Pepper. "Morgan. This life." But then came the photo. Peter's face. The wide grin. The trust in those eyes. And Tony cracked. That night, after Morgan went to sleep, he pulled out the old picture again. Held it. Talked to it like Peter could hear. "I'll bring you back," he whispered. "Even if it kills me." And somewhere, deep inside, he knew it would. Making amends. During the mission, Tony saw his father again. Not as the titan of industry. Not as the distant figure who shaped him. But as a man. Vulnerable. Unsure. Human. It was the first time Tony understood that maybe Howard Stark had been just as lost. "I'm going to have a daughter," Tony said, voice cracking. Howard smiled, proud and clueless. "God help her." They hugged, awkward but real. It didn't erase the years of distance, but it made them matter less. Tony returned to 2023 with a new ache. A different one. The kind that comes when you start forgiving others, and yourself. The final snap. He watched it happen. Thanos raising his hand. The stones glinting. And in that moment, Tony moved without thinking. Because it was never going to be Steve. Or Thor. It had to be him. The man who started it all. He stole the stones. And with them in his hand, he looked at Thanos and whispered, "I am Iron Man." The snap shattered him. But he smiled. Because this time, he didn't run. He didn't hide behind sarcasm or armor. He chose to give everything. The goodbye. Morgan didn't understand at first. She was too young. But at the funeral, when she saw the floating wreath with the arc reactor that said, "Proof that Tony Stark has a heart," something clicked. She turned to Pepper. "He saved everyone, didn't he?" Pepper knelt down, eyes glassy. "He did." Years passed. And Morgan kept that arc reactor by her bed. Every night before she went to sleep, she'd tap it and say, "Good night, Daddy." And sometimes she'd swear she heard him say it back. The legacy lives on. Happy never really got over it. Neither did Peter. But Peter wore the upgraded suit with pride. Every time he flew through the city, every time he saved someone, he'd say, "This is for you, Mr. Stark." One day, he visited Morgan at the lake house. She was 12 now, tall and curious. She showed him the suit she was building, nothing fancy yet, but full of heart. Peter grinned. Looks like genius runs in the family. She smirked. You should see what I'm building for my science fair. And for the first time in years, Peter laughed. Because Tony Stark was gone. But his heart beat on.